So we're going to go through the finals game by game, but I think this is important to talk about now.
Yeah.
Since the Jordan championship era, which is 1991, nobody has attempted more free throws in a finals than the Miami Heat with 207.
Yeah.
If I were to take away and go and allow the 80s, all you're going to see are a bunch of 60s and 50s teams where nobody knew what they were doing. And you can't count it.
Yeah.
So
it's just the era of basketball that we don't give a shit about, and Russell just doesn't want to say that, but that's fine. I'll be his.
I was about to say that's your job to bring that shit up. I ain't saying that. R.I.P. Bill Russell, legend. So we are
rip.
207 free throws attempted is the most ever, and Mr. Wade, most free throw attempts in one finals after 1962. So now I'm adding some of those shitty years.
Yeah.
Now I'm adding some of those years, and it doesn't matter. 97 free throw attempts for Dwayne Wade is a lot. And even beating out Shaq's famous 2000 finals where he had 39 in one game.
So just to put it in perspective, for the most part, he was hovering around over 8 free throws a game.
Yeah.
That one series, he had 10. In this series, he averaged 16 free throws a game. And I think the majority of them came in those last 4 games.
So this is what I wanted to bring up. So this is the point. The reason why I'm showing you this now is because there is a specific point. There is an accurate moment to where the series changes. It changes on a dime. And it is staggering.
I've always ignored the Mark Cuban complaining about this, but all right, let's keep on.
He didn't just complain. He filed a grievance.
Yeah, exactly.
Filed a grievance against the NBA.
Yeah.
For a screw job.
Yeah.
And we're here to prove as to whether he was right or wrong. But let me tell you something. So far, I'm sure Mark Cuban's looked at all the same shit that we've looked at. All the same shit.
Have, not him.
Running through the free throws.
Yeah.
A whole 9 yards.
So going into going towards the fourth quarter, I think the Mavs were up pretty much most of the time towards the end, and they were trading buckets between Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki for the last couple minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Go into OT, and then that's when, from what I remember, the end of the game, Dirk hits that fadeaway jump shot over Shaq and I think another defender, and he scores that with, I want to say, 9.1 seconds left, and then Dwayne Wade cuts through some defenders, goes for a driving layup, and they call the foul on Dirk. Sure, there were 3 defenders there, but in that situation, in most NBA games, they don't call the foul. You have to make that shot. They don't call. That's always been a thing with the NBA. It's when it comes to the end of the game, they're holding their whistles a lot of the times because they feel like players should win the game themselves.
True. And that's kind of the story of this whole series. That's why the Heat get pissed off. So here we go. Wade has the most free throw attempts by a guard in a finals game with 25. Right?
Yeah.
So 25, and I believe that's game 5 with 25. I'll double check that.
Game 6, the very next game.
And then the very next game is the second most ever for free throws by a guard. Yeah, so Wade, 21 of 25, 43 points, half of them on free throws.
He shot 39% from the field, so that means they were technically locking him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just gifting him more and more things at the line.
Yeah.
An absurd amount of shit. And
that, especially
let's look
play.
at let's look at the finish. Yeah. Let's go to the finish. Hold on. Because it's also the ref. It's they're trying to call a timeout also. And
yeah, that was bullshit. That was
Yeah.
complete bullshit. I feel like the refs should not have done that.
Tie game. Now Dallas has 1.9 seconds, but they also have the timeout remaining.
To get back beyond the three-point line.
Oh, no.
Josh Howard. Did he call timeout?
Oh, my.
Josh Howard called time. Joe DeRosa said timeout. Now Bennett Salvatore waving it off.
Yeah,
that would be their final timeout, and they wouldn't be able to advance the ball.
That's correct.
This is a huge call right here. And they give the timeout. Howard asked Joe DeRosa for the timeout. If that's the case, the official has to call it.
Well, see, the bench, all of the coaches were up saying, no. They did not want the timeout because they only had one timeout remaining.
It's hard to see what Avery Johnson is arguing about because if Howard turned to the official and said timeout, they have to call it. The game is tied with 1.9 remaining. Wade has one more free throw coming up.
But with 1.9, you can make it. Now keep an eye right up here.
Yeah, you can see Howard. He put his hands together for the timeout.
Yes, he did. And right there, Joe DeRosa. Now you can see the coaching staff immediately. Del Harris and then Avery Johnson come out to dispute that.
Like, that was 100% one of Mark Cuban's biggest complaints, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely.
Because that's
how
bullshit.
could it not be?
Even if you misunderstood what the coach was saying, like, you should like listen to what he's saying and fix that, because that's such a crucial point in the game.
Yeah.
Like, that literally cost them the game.
It did. Yeah. 100%. And all this stuff's important to get into, mainly because, like, this championship in a lot of ways solidifies and legitimizes Shaq's career as a top 10 guy. Like, if he only has the three rings, that he comes out like immediately for Steph Curry, who's now taking his spot. Like, you know what I mean? Some people took Shaq out for Steph after this last finals in 2022, after Curry got 4 rings. But this 4th championship is the reason why Shaq's in this conversation for top 10. Yeah. And I just think this series is crazy and how much shit goes on.
Yeah.
So here you go. Here's the playing question. Drives. So they call that the phantom touch because Nowitzki barely touches him.
Yeah.
Barely touches him on the free throw time. And to your point, normally they don't bail you out with that shit.
Yeah. You got it.
Very much to your point. They don't bail you out.
To give Wade credit, though, he did hit a lot of big shots in that 4th quarter to keep them in the game.
Yeah.
I just think they shouldn't have called that foul for him.
So Avery Johnson was irate. First, because he believed Wade was not fouled by Nowitzki, which could totally have been the case. If you watch the replays in slow motion, which I'll show on your screen, like, you can make an opinion on yourself. Let us know what you think in the comments. But
yeah,
he didn't think Dirk fouled him. Second, Avery Johnson said he signaled to Josh Howard to call a timeout, Dallas's last one, after Wade's 2nd free throw. Instead, the referees, saying they saw a signal from Howard after Wade made the first free throw, awarded the timeout then. So what that means is, instead of waiting till after the 2nd free throw here to take your timeout, if they take the timeout here, they can move the ball up, and suddenly that 1.9 seconds gets used way differently.
Yeah. 100%.
Where now they have no timeouts, and they're forced to just inbound this ball and kind of say a prayer.
Yeah.
And it completely fucked them. And it's kind of just like, as a referee, as a referee, you should know the context of what you're watching.
Yeah. Like you should know. That doesn't.
How many games has Joey Crawford refereed?
Yeah.
He's got to know that these guys obviously want the timeout, not in between the 2 fucking free throws. Yeah. You want to let them make their own mistakes, but I just don't.
Yeah, you should definitely know, like, there's some type of miscommunication there. Like, on what the, like, I don't think the player was that dumb. Or maybe he was. Maybe he pulled the J.R. Smith or some bullshit. Like, but I feel like it would have been talked about way more if he pulled the J.R. Smith. I think it was just the referees didn't care to.
The footage will be on your screen of how exactly that gets laid out.
Yeah.
But Mark Cuban sat behind the bench, dressed in a Sackhouse jersey, and stood up to protest virtually every call. Avery Johnson had 2 days to see, first over his team's play, and then over Stackhouse's suspension for a flagrant foul in Game 4. They're gonna leave. They're gonna leave the hotel. I think before this game or after this game. I think it's before this game because they go back to Dallas for game 6.
Game 6.
So I think before Game 5, they like switched hotels because they felt like some shady shit was going down. Some of the conversation will be underneath me.
Yeah.
But
Dallas switched hotels?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you call it? They switched hotels because they're in Miami. You know, there's lots of bitches around.
Yeah.
By the time we got hammered in Game 4, I was looking at my coaching staff and Mark Cuban, and he was like, "Man, what's up with our team?" And the hotel was just, we had families. I mean, it was just a circus. So we made the decision to just try and move the team and have a little bit more of a bunker mentality. Yeah. So they were getting distracted because Miami is Miami, basically.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Like, how would you do that during the NBA Finals? Like,
I don't know. That takes some balls.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's crazy. I mean. Like, especially, like, I just can't imagine Dirk doing that. Like, I'm sure he probably wasn't part of it, but it would kind of make sense why his Game 4 performance was kind of shitty if he was, like, partially hungover. Like
Pat Riley talking about Mark Cuban said, Mark made a point about a lot of things, but he also disrespected in some way the emergence of Dwayne Wade because all of his vitriol, I think, went towards this young player who simply put his head down in every situation and attacked the basket. And I remember Mark Cuban, that he looked up at the commissioner sitting in the middle, and they're yelling and screaming at him and yelling and pointing at him and shaking his fist at him. And I don't think that helped his team, to be honest with you. Yeah, you think? Probably fucking not. For sure.
I'm sure the commissioner was probably like, keep on doing this shit now.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like those Clipper teams that Lindsay fell in love with. They argued too much with the referee, and that's why they were never able to sustain success.